What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. Well, over the weekend, we did have Mario Day, and Nintendo had a bit of a surprise for us, almost like a mini direct that went over release dates, new NSO titles, and even an entire movie to look forward to. We're going to go over all of the announcements, though, here today. Also, we are going to be talking about another studio that shut down. This one, though, had quite a few expectations attached to it because, well, it was attached to Sony when it first showed up. And then we'll also be talking about Sea of Thieves, which, of course, is going to the PlayStation 5 here in a bit. Well, it appears, at least initially with pre-orders, it's making quite the splash. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button. Helps out a ton. And if you're new here to the Spawnwave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. And, of course, members do get Newswave early and ad-free. If you want to learn more about that, click the join button down below this video. And we're going to start today with some very unfortunate and sad news. This broke Thursday night last week after Newswave had been recorded and was being edited for the following day, and that is that Akira Toriyama has passed away. This was shared over on the official Dragon Ball account. We can see the statement saying, "We are deeply saddened to inform you that manga creator Akira Toriyama passed away on March 1st due to acute subdural hematoma. He was age 68. And yeah, a bit too young there to be passing away. Very unfortunate stuff here. But of course, there was mourning, reflection, and just remembrance across basically all of the internet over the last several days throughout the weekend. And if you look to different games that he was in some way attached to, whether it was Dragon Quest X Online, there was tributes going on there, respects being paid within Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, and even Final Fantasy XIV, which you might say that's odd, he's not technically attached that well. Sakaguchi has talked about the influences that Akira Toriyama had on him as he was working to create Final Fantasy with the Dragon Quest series and the designs for the different characters and monsters. Of course, Akira Toriyama, known very, very well as the creator of Dragon Ball, as well as designs for Dragon Quest, Chrono Trigger, and Blue Dragon, which still, I think, a very fun game to go back and play. It is fully backwards compatible on the Xbox series, but incredibly sad stuff. I did a video just kind of chronicling my own thoughts and the impact that he had on me with Dragon Ball growing up. So if you want to see more of my thoughts on that entire situation, you can check that video out. But yeah, absolutely, rest in peace to a legend, an icon in the industry, all of pop culture, Akira Toriyama. Also, we had a bit of a weird situation that happened over the last several days. That has to do with Stellar Blade, as a demo just kind of went live out of nowhere. There was no prior announcement. PlayStation Game Size, the database on Twitter, spotted it, put the page up. People were able to download it and play all the way through the 90-minute demo until Sony decided that you weren't allowed to play it anymore, and they revoked the license. In fact, you can see Wario64 pointing this out, saying Sony has now locked users out of the Stellar Blade demo, even if you already downloaded it. Probably too late to disconnect from the internet if you haven't done so already. In fact, some noticed that even in rest mode, they were able to disable your access to the demo. Now, of course, you didn't buy the demo, but you still added it to your library, which does involve adding a license. So what Sony really just showed us is that, yes, they can revoke licenses directly out of your library, individual games or applications like a demo, if they want to or if they need to. So something to think about there, but I would expect Stellar Blade, that demo, to go live, to be honest, probably sometime this week, most likely timed up with a press release, maybe on PlayStation Blog, or a whole new trailer, we'll see. Oh, and after the situation between Nintendo and Yuzu, with Yuzu getting pulled down and them having to pay out $2.4 million, we have seen other emulators kind of just fold and walk away, like Drastic DS as an example there. Well, it appears another set of emulators, another developers decided to kind of back away from the whole thing, which this was posted up by The Verge, saying that Pizza Emulators, which made Game Boy Advance and Game Boy Color emulators on Android, has pulled all of its apps from the Google Play Store. In a message on Discord, developer David Berra writes that he's shutting down the emulators to prioritize my family over the development of my apps. And obviously the timing here, even though saying it's prioritize family, you kind of can read the room and say, wow, Nintendo, Yuzu, that whole thing has certainly had an impact, ripple effects throughout the industry at this time, where many emulators are kind of folding and backing away, realizing it's not worth the potential fight or struggle that Nintendo could bring to their doorstep if apparently they just feel like it. Nintendo has plenty of lawyers, plenty of power in the courtroom, plenty of money, and they don't seem to mind throwing it around when they want to. So I kind of understand why some of these developers and emulators are just like, yeah, it's not really worth it, and then kind of shutting down, pulling them off of Play stores and that sort of thing. And again, that was a result that Nintendo was looking for outside of just getting rid of Yuzu. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with Mario Day, that of course being March 10th, so it was Sunday. The day before that, we also had another kind of direct, this one from the Lego company, which we'll get to the different sets that they showed off there. I wanted to start with the mini direct that Nintendo had for us, which you can see some of it here. It's about 3 minutes long, so very, very quick and to the point. Now, they started out going over the Mario movie that with Shigeru Miyamoto and then Illumination, and they discussed and talked about maybe the direction of it being a bit more lighthearted, even that sort of thing. But it's coming out April 3rd, 2026. So we're 2 years off. And I know with movies and productions like these, they don't mind just throwing the release date out there 2 years in advance even. They can still delay it, as I believe they did that with the first Mario movie, if I'm remembering correctly. But nonetheless, looking towards, I guess, another Mario movie, which makes sense. The first one, I think that grossed $1.4 billion. And by the way, it's coming back to theaters here soon. So maybe they'll be adding on to that total as they go along through 2024. Not shocking to hear, though, that another Mario movie is coming up. We have the Legend of Zelda movie coming up. And I'm just waiting for them to say that a Metroid movie is coming up, because I think that'd be a really cool thing to see on the big screen. But then they moved over to a couple of release dates, starting with Paper Mario Thousand Year Door, May 23rd. Then we have Luigi's Mansion 2 HD, June 27th. By the way, both of these are Thursdays, so not Friday releases here. And by the way, this technically sets up their release schedule all the way up through the first half of 2024, ending with Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. And since many people have speculated that we could see the announcement for Nintendo's next system in June, at least their game lineup and schedule is sort of matching with that, but we'll see, because some are still thinking there would be an April direct, a big general, maybe a smaller one, a mini, maybe not this mini where it's 3 minutes long, but you get the idea, maybe a 10 or 15 minute direct to kind of set up the maybe third quarter of the year running up till August. But if Nintendo really does have plans to unveil their new system in June for a first or Q1 2025 release, well, they would want to make sure all of these titles are out ahead of that, and technically Luigi's Mansion 2 HD would basically be right there with their big presentation and initial reveal. But they weren't done there. They did have Game Boy games for NSO. Those going live tomorrow, which it's interesting. I feel like they probably could have just dropped them right then and there, like, hey, it's available now for Mario Day, go check them out. But I guess they needed 2 days to add Dr. Mario, Mario Golf, and Mario Tennis. Now, you may initially look at Mario Golf and Mario Tennis as, oh, okay, these are very basic handheld golf and tennis games. Not quite. These actually have like fully fledged, like fully built out single player experiences that have full RPG elements. It's an entire campaign that can honestly last like 5 or 6 hours. And it's pretty interesting to see all this happen on a Game Boy Color. So I fully recommend checking out Mario Golf or Mario Tennis, depending on maybe one or the other sport is more preferable to you, because the single player is actually pretty good, even though, again, it's represented by the very rudimentary graphics at that time of the Game Boy Color. It's a lot of fun. But really, overall, not bad for about 3 minutes of just a mini direct kind of dropping for Mario Day. We got the release dates we were looking for, with Paper Mario coming up first, then Luigi's Mansion 2 HD, some NSO titles, and then another Mario movie just a couple of years off. But not a bad way to celebrate Mario Day. But technically, that wasn't the only thing, as we have new LEGO sets to look forward to, which we'll move over to Nintendo Life, who does have a bunch of the images. And then, of course, we can also take a look at the 8-minute LEGO Nintendo Direct that they released. We have the Bowser Express Train. It's $120, 1,392 pieces. All these, by the way, coming out August 1st. So we have still technically like 5 months before these are out. But we have King Boo's Haunted Mansion, kind of looks like a Luigi's Mansion kind of setup here. That'll be $75 with 932 pieces. And then Battle with Roy at Peach's Castle, so kind of the castle for Mario 64, that coming in at $65 and 738 pieces. So pretty cool stuff there, obviously for Lego collectors if you're really into kind of the Mario series that they've been running. But the big thing they closed out with was Mario Kart. Yes, that's right. A whole Lego series seemingly, or Lego sets for Mario Kart is coming 2025, which is actually pretty funny considering we've got a Mario Kart mobile game in Mario Kart Tour. We have an entire expansion DLC Battle Pass set that ran for a good part of a couple of years there on Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and now we're seeing an entire Lego series happen before the next Mario Kart game comes out. I mean, technically it's been 10 years just about, right? So in May, it'll be 10 years since Mario Kart 8 released on the Wii U, and technically that's still the newest one. I know Mario Kart 8 Deluxe had changes and other things, but it's still Mario Kart 8. So I'd like to think that Nintendo understands, okay, maybe we should do another Mario Kart game to coincide with that Lego series next year. And I still think if you want to launch the next system, I know people look at it and go, okay, 3D Mario. I mean, it's very difficult to beat Mario Kart, especially if you have a Lego series coming out next to it, and we have the Mario movie coming up in 2026, which might be a better time to position a 3D Mario game, even though that feels like it's been a while since Odyssey. But it's, I think it's about time we got a new Mario Kart game, and we're to the point where we're like, oh, cool, Lego Mario Kart, because it's just been so starved for a brand new Mario Kart title. But here's hoping Nintendo is ready to show that maybe with the new system here in a few months. Next up, let's talk about another studio that's closed down, that being Deviation Games, which is a studio that I said, hey, we should pay attention to them because of the talent and the legacy behind it, especially with like a lot of the developers on some of the previous Call of Duty titles sort of coming together from Treyarch and others to seemingly create a live service title for Sony, as they made that announcement with Jeff Keighley at one of his shows years and years ago. Well, then we found out that Jason Blundell had left and that they shed half of their workforce, seemingly because I guess the contract with Sony fell through. Well, now we can see this posted up over on Gematsu, where they say Los Angeles-based developer Deviation Games has closed down, the studio announced. This is over on LinkedIn, where Chris Stoll says, "It is with a heavy heart that we announce the closure of Deviation Games. I want to express my deepest gratitude to our entire team. Thank you for all your hard work, dedication, and contributions to Deviation. I'm incredibly grateful for the opportunity to have worked with each and every one of you." And at this time, Jason Blundell is working at Sony. Like, he went to PlayStation Studios, and it's my understanding they actually hired many of the people from Deviation Games. So maybe they saw some of the talent there and they were like, well, we would rather work maybe independent from that studio, but bring you more into the fold with PlayStation. There all seemed to be some, I don't know, internal strife. Something was going on there with Jason Blundell and some of the other people there who are managing the studio. So I guess Sony maybe figured this out and was like, let's bring you guys internal and we'll kind of get rid of that contract. And that kind of left Deviation Games out to dry, unfortunately. And technically, their big announcement was that they just existed in the first place. They never actually created any game, which makes me more and more skeptical as we go forward here and we see these announcements for studios. It's like, okay, it's good to know you guys are there. We got to see if you can turn anything out first, because especially now in current times, there's a lot of layoffs, a lot of closures happening. I don't necessarily know if that studio that gets announced today is going to have a game years from now, let alone just exist. So yeah, unfortunate stuff there for Deviation Games, but I guess we'll see what Jason Blundell and some of the developers come up with internally at Sony whenever they're ready to show it. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about Sea of Thieves, of course, going to the PlayStation 5 April 30th, and it has gone live now for pre-orders. I was very curious how a game like this would do on the PlayStation 5, because Sony isn't exactly the greatest when it comes to multiplayer games. Now, they do have a hit on their hands right now with Helldivers 2, but they weren't exactly churning out these big-time multiplayer live service titles, and I do think Microsoft, especially at this time, is just better at providing those experiences when it comes to a first-party level. And in fact, they're kind of showing that now, because if you take a look, this is posted up by Benji Sales, saying Sea of Thieves is currently the #1 best-selling pre-order on PlayStation Network in the United States. This one was a little surprising to me because it's technically above Dragon's Dogma 2, Rise of the Ronin, even Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erdtree, MLB The Show 24, Sea of Thieves up there at the top. And look, Sea of Thieves is a very unique title, I will say that, and it was a game that I figured would do well on the PlayStation, but so far, that's pretty strong. Now, the interesting thing about this, right, we know, at least I figure anyway, most of us know that Microsoft is clearly testing the waters, maybe running an experiment to see what the reception would be for something like a Sea of Thieves, a Hi-Fi Rush, Grounded, Pentiment on other platforms. And yeah, obviously they see this as well on their end as they're getting those analytics of purchases and that sort of thing. But you do have to sign in to a Microsoft account for cross-play, cross-progression, playing the game on PS5. So it's interesting to think that Microsoft might actually be pulling plenty of people in to their ecosystem just from playing the game and having to sign up for a Microsoft account, especially if it's off to this kind of a start. I do think, of course, Microsoft will be keeping an eye on how things do initially in terms of sales for Sea of Thieves on the PS5, but the big thing will be how many monthly active users and concurrent players they can hold and bring in and kind of have a boost to that overall ecosystem with Sea of Thieves. Because if that does well, the thing I definitely believe they will be moving over more so than anything else would be more live service games, or games that have at least a community around the multiplayer aspect to it. So that's sort of what I would look to that Microsoft currently has in their library above all else, because so far, Sea of Thieves is not messing around topping those charts. And before we go to the comments of the day, we're going to take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday. We're asked, are you picking up Paper Mario Thousand Year Door on Switch? Okay, well, 33% say yes, picking it up ASAP. 34% say later if there's a sale, and then 32% say no, I'm not interested. The thing that's really funny about Paper Mario Thousand Year Door on the Switch, even though it's going to come in at $60, if you look it up on the GameCube, it is like $100 plus. And I know people will say you can emulate it. Sure, I get that. There are many people who just don't want to emulate it, and it's like, well, do I get it on the GameCube for twice the amount that I can get it on the Switch where it's fully remade? And some of those comparison shots are pretty good. So yeah, for me, I'm looking at I would like to play through it again, kind of in this remade format. So I will be picking it up, and I wouldn't be shocked if others do as well, even if they're not fans of Paper Mario or have even played the series much. There's a lot of buzz around Thousand Year Door, and some might just be curious as to exactly why. So hey, you can get it for half off compared to the eBay prices. And we'll finish up with the comments of the day. We'll start with this one here. This is from Queso, who says, do these companies forget the world is hitting a recession? The COVID gravy train for video games is over. These companies need to realize that. Yeah, the problem is they have this dance they have to do with investors, and investors just want the line to keep going up and up and up and up. And if you come back and say, well, we had a really good period here because everyone was just at home and they were looking for things to do, and then they had some extra money, so they spent it with us. But next year, people are going to go back to work and go outside. It won't be as well. They don't care. There's like, okay, well, so the line's going to go down? Well, we're going to then move our investments elsewhere. So it's unfortunate. They get kind of painted into a corner, and then they come back and say, we didn't meet those expectations that we didn't necessarily think we'd be able to meet anyway. And then that's just kind of where they are, which means layoffs. And that's why so many are hitting across the industry, because it was kind of overinflated years ago when all this happened. And then we'll go to a comment from the members video. This is posted up by Vampire. It says, many are waiting on a PC version. They can then be played modded. As the PC version is going to happen, think knowing releases are coming to PC a bit later is ruining the PlayStation brand. So I do see this where people are wondering if it kind of diminishes the brand pull, if you will, with the PS5, considering you can wait sometimes years, though, for a game to end up on PC. And technically, if you can wait years for a title, then sure, you can just have it PC. But if you want to play the game day one, at least right now with Sony, you would need to get a PS5. Although, I do wonder if by the end of this generation, some of their single-player games are just going to show up on PC alongside of the PS5. But I kind of feel like for that to happen, Sony would probably introduce their launcher, and then I wonder how that would go over with the PC crowd, considering launchers just don't seem to hold up compared to something like Steam. Even though it's like the launchers are all free and stuff, it's more that inconvenience of splitting your library. But that might be Sony's big push, would be, we don't want to pay Valve 30% of these games, we want to keep all the money, and we're going to introduce this launcher because we think our games are that good to bring you over. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today, was the Mario Day announcement. So this is the new titles for NSO, the release dates, the Mario movie, the Lego set. A lot of stuff happened this weekend. Let me know what you think about those. Then what about Deviation Games shutting down, or Sea of Thieves topping the charts when it comes to pre-orders on the PlayStation 5? Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.